Welcome everyone, it is time for part 3 of our AI generated D&D story. Last episode, a few big things happened. Durin, unfortunately, is no longer with us. We have gained a new follower, a new group member in Seraphina. Seraphina Nightshade is her full name. Ignore Seraphina Knight on the screen, my face cam is covering up the rest of her name. To be fair, we could move the face cam. Yeah, right there, it'll do, doesn't matter. And what else? We also found out the first major plot point of the story, which is that the king has died. It's being kept secret. We met Thalasus, a powerful wizard in the realm, who is currently on the lookout for the rightful heir to the throne. In terms of big story points in this part, I don't think we're going to do anything major. If we see an opportunity to throw in hints of what's going on in the overarching story, then we will. Just like the start of last episode, I will just say this is a learning experience. There's a learning curve to this. I changed how I read my messages, my parts in this. But when I watched it back and I edited it, I realised that I speak way too quickly and I mumble all the time. So we're going to try and speak a little bit more clearly, a little bit more slowly this time. We'll continue this where we left off. I will read the last message and we will carry on the story. The group make their way into Harrowdale, trying to act as casual as possible. Not wanting to raise any suspicion, they see the townsfolk going about their business as usual, but there is a sense of unease in the air. Kolo asks the passing merchant if there has been any news from the capital, to which the merchant responds with a shake of the head. Nothing out of the ordinary, just the usual business dealings. As they continue through the town, they come across a group of guards blocking off a street. Kolo approaches one of the guards and asks, "What's going on here?" To which the guard replies, "There's been a break-in at the blacksmith shop, and we're investigating it now." Kolo nods and the group continues on their way, trying to keep a low profile. As they near the outskirts of town, they see a figure approaching them from a distance. As the figure gets closer, they see it's a messenger on horseback. The messenger stops in front of the group and hands Kolo a letter saying, "This is for you, sir." Kolo thanks the messenger and opens the letter. The letter reads, "Meet me at the old ruins outside of town. Come alone." The letter is signed with a single initial, V. Kolo looks up at the group and tells them he has to go, but he'll be back soon. The group looks at him in confusion, but Kolo assures them that everything is okay, and he'll explain later. Kolo sets out to meet this mysterious V at the old ruins, wondering who it could be, and what they could want. Kolo makes his short journey towards the old ruins outside of town, eager in anticipation to see who exactly this mysterious character is. As Kolo approaches the ruins, he sees a figure waiting for him. The figure is tall and cloaked, their face is obscured by the hood. Kolo can sense a powerful aura emanating from them. "Who are you?" Kolo asks cautiously. The figure responds in a deep, commanding voice. "I am known as the Shadow. I have been sent to aid you in your quest." Kolo looks at the Shadow, skeptically, unsure of what to make of this mysterious figure. "Sent by whom?" he asks. The Shadow simply responds, "That is not important. What is important is that I am here to help you. Together, we will uncover the truth behind the king's death and put an end to the darkness that plagues this land." Kolo nods, still unsure, but willing to accept any help he can get. "Very well," he says. "Let's get to work." Seraphina steps into view. She's been following Kolo in secret out of caution of what this meeting could be about. After overhearing the Shadow tell Kolo their intentions, Seraphina speaks up. "We can't trust them, Kolo. Nobody knows about the king's death but Thalasus and us." How does this person know? Kolo turns around in surprise, seeing Seraphina standing there. "Seraphina, what are you doing here?" he asks, puzzled. Seraphina walks closer to the Kolo and the Shadow, her hand on her sword's hilt. I followed you, Kolo, and I couldn't help but overhear your conversation with this shadowy figure," she replies, eyeing the Shadow warily. "How do you know about the king's death, and who are you really?" The Shadow chuckles softly, his hood obscuring his face. "I know many things, my dear, and as for who I am, that is not important. What is important is what I can offer you both: information, resources, power, all for a price, of course." Kolo looks at Seraphina, unsure of what to do. I know it's risky, but we could use any help we get to uncover the truth behind the king's death, he says. Seraphina nods, her grip on her sword tightening. Fine, but we'll be keeping a close eye on you, Shadow, she warns. The Shadow merely chuckles again. As you wish, my dear, but mark my words. There are greater things at play here that you could possibly imagine. And with that he disappears into the shadows, leaving Kolo and Seraphina alone once more. Kolo turns to Seraphina, nodding. You're right, we can't trust them. We need to be careful, but we also need information. Let's follow them, see where they go, and try and learn more about their plans. Seraphina nods in agreement. I'll use my magic to stay hidden and keep an eye on them. We should let Talos know what's going on when he returns. Kolo agrees, and the two of them make their way towards the Shadow and his group. Kolo agrees, and the two of them make their way towards the direction the Shadow and his group had headed. I didn't know the Shadow had a group. They keep their distance, using their skills to stay hidden and undetected, and follow them through the forest until they reach a cave entrance. The Shadow and his group disappear into a cave, and Kolo and Seraphina pause to discuss their next move. We need to find out what's going on in there, Kolo whispers, but we don't want to get caught. Seraphina nods. I have an idea. I can create an illusion to distract them while we sneak in and try and gather information. Kolo nods, impressed by her quick thinking. Together, they work to create an illusion of a group of soldiers marching towards a cave entrance. The Shadow and his group are caught off guard by the illusion, and Kolo and Seraphina slip through the cave unnoticed. As Kolo and Seraphina move towards the cave, they see nothing but a simple campsite. It looks like the Shadow was only here for a temporary stay, Kolo says, examining the tents. Seraphina turns back towards the entrance and says, It appears you're right. Let's sneak back out of the cave and keep a watch from a distance. Perhaps we can follow the Shadow once he leaves this place. But as soon as the two of them sneak out of the cave, they notice that any trace of the Shadow is gone. They must have caught wind that we were looking into this cave. They could be anywhere, Kolo admits. Seraphina replies, We should keep our wits about us for now. I don't think this is the last time we will see the Shadow. And the two of them return to Hallowdale to regroup with the rest of their friends. As they arrive in town, they notice that the mood has shifted. People are whispering and looking over their shoulders. There's a feeling of unease in the air. Kolo and Seraphina make their way to the inn where Thane, Glim, Erevan and Arin are waiting for them. Thank God the AI has got the group correct. What's going on? Kolo asks as he enters the room. Thane looks up at him with a grave expression. It's not good. Oh! Word has gotten out about the king's death and now people are starting to panic. Some are even saying that the demon in the forest was responsible for it. Kolo and Seraphina exchange a worried glance. We need to do something, Kolo says. We can't let this situation get out of hand. Arin speaks up. I have an idea. There's an old legend about a magical artifact that's said to have the power to calm people's mind and bring them to a state of peace. It's called the Stone of Serenity, and it's said to be hidden somewhere in the forest. Glim nods in agreement. I've heard of it, but I always thought it was just a myth. Erevan adds, even if it's real, finding it won't be easy. The forest is vast and it's full of dangers. Thane stands up. Well, we don't have much of a choice. We have to try. Kolo, Seraphina, Arin, Glim, Erevan, and I will go to search for the Stone of Serenity. It's our only hope to calm the people of Hallowdale and prevent them from doing something foolish. The group nods in agreement and they set out towards the forest, unsure of what find or dangers they'll face. Okay. So the news of the king's death has gotten out, which would explain why the Shadow knows about it. I wanted to keep this a bit of a secret for a bit longer, but I'll let the AI cook. The people are starting to learn about the king's death. It did happen weeks ago. However, I don't know if the AI story wants to blame the demon. We do not want to blame the demon. That is just a coincidence. The group heads back to the forest, the same place they had recently fought a demon and lost their friend Durin. I must admit I have a foul taste in my mouth entering this forest again. This place holds nothing but bad memories, Kolo says, looking to the trees. But I suppose if this artifact would help calm the people of Hallowdale, then we must press on. As they move deeper into the forest, they come across an old abandoned temple, overgrown with vines and moss. Erevan, the wizard, notices something strange about the temple. The vines and moss seem to be arranged in an intricate pattern, as if deliberately shaped. This is no ordinary temple, she says. It looks like it was built by the elves, and they were known for their mastery of nature magic. Kolo nods. If anyone would know of an artifact that could calm the people, it would be the elves. Let's investigate this temple and see what we can find. As they approach the entrance, they see a door covered in a layer of thick vines, almost as if it's been deliberately sealed shut. Seraphina steps forward. Allow me, she says, and with a wave of her staff she casts a spell that causes the vines to wither and fall away, revealing the entrance. The group cautiously steps inside, their footsteps echoing through the empty halls. As they explore the temple, they come across several rooms filled with ancient elven artifacts, but nothing that seems to match what they are looking for. Finally, they come to a large chamber with a pedestal in the center, upon which rests a small glowing crystal. Kolo cautiously approaches the pedestal, but as he reaches out to touch the crystal, the chamber begins to shake and tremble. Suddenly, a booming voice echoes through the chamber. "Who dares disturb the sacred temple of the elves?" The group looks around in alarm, trying to locate the source of the voice. "We mean no harm," Kolo says, trying to sound as diplomatic as possible. "We are seeking an artifact that could calm the people of Hallowdale, and we thought the elves might have knowledge of it." There is a pause, and the voice speaks again, softer this time. "I see. Very well. I will allow you to take the crystal, but only if you promise to use it for the greater good." Kolo nods vigorously. "We swear it." As Kolo picks up the crystal, he feels a strange energy course through his body, and he hears a voice one last time. "May the light of the elves guide you on your journey." The group exits the temple, feeling a sense of awe and reverence for the ancient elven civilization that once lived there. As they journey back to Hallowdale, Kolo can feel the crystal radiating a calming energy, and he knows that they have found exactly what they were looking for. The group swiftly leave the forest and head back towards the town. Still in unrest after the news of the king, Kolo takes a step on a few stacked crates in the middle of the town square, calling to everyone to gain their attention. As the almost rioting crowds turn to look up at Kolo, he holds up the Stone of Serenity. The crowd falls silent as they see the stone, all eyes on Kolo, waiting for him to speak. "People of Hallowdale," he begins, his voice echoing through the square. "I know that times are tough right now, and the news of the king's death has left many of us feeling uncertain and afraid. But I want you all to know that we have not given up hope, and we are doing everything we can to ensure the safety and security of this town." He pauses for a moment, taking a deep breath before continuing. "And that is why I present you the Stone of Serenity, a powerful artifact that can bring peace and calm to even the most troubled minds. We will be using it to help ease the tensions and fears that have gripped the town in the wake of the king's passing." The crowd murmurs amongst themselves, some skeptical, but others hopeful. Kolo sees an opportunity to rally them into a common cause. "We cannot do this alone," he says. "We need your help, your trust, and your cooperation. We are all in this together, and only by working together can we overcome these trying times." The crowd begins to nod in agreement, their faces slowly easing into a calm expression. Kolo steps down from the crates, the Stone of Serenity held high above his head, as the people of Hallowdale begin to disperse, their minds and hearts slightly lighter than they were before. Arwen places a hand on Kolo's shoulder. "Wow, that was incredible. You really sounded like a leader out there," she says with a smile. Glim jumps up in excitement. "Yeah, you were great. I bet that they thought you were some kind of royal messenger or something." The group laughs together and begins to plan out their next move. After a few hours of thinking on where to go next, Thane stands up. "Maybe we should go to the capital. We could look for clues around the king's death, maybe even use the Stone of Serenity again. If the people of Hallowdale were in panic, I can only imagine how bad the capital must be." Seraphina nods in agreement. "That sounds like a good idea, and if the rightful heir is indeed in the capital, then we'll have a better chance of finding them there," Erevan adds. "Plus, the capital is likely to have more resources and information that we can use to our advantage." Kolo takes a moment to consider their options before finally nodding. "All right, let's head to the capital then. We must be cautious. We don't know who we can trust in these uncertain times." The group agrees and begins to make preparations for their journey to the capital. "This will be a very long journey," Erevan states. "The capital is many weeks' travel away. We'll have to make sure that we choose the right roads, and that we have enough supplies for the journey." The group nods in agreement as they head towards the marketplace to gather enough food and water for the journey. "We should head north, towards the swamplands. That would be the quickest way, I think," Kolo suggests. Seraphine nods in agreement. "Yes, that is the way me and Talis has travelled to get here. We should make the town of Trenton our next stop. It sits right on the edge of the swamplands and is only a few journeys away." "A few journeys away? It's only a few days' journey away." Okay, here we go. "Agreed," Arwen says. "And we should be cautious of the dangers we may encounter on the way. We don't want to have a repeat of what happened in the forest." Glim chimes in. "I can keep an eye out for any trouble. My sharp senses won't let anything get past me." The group gathers their supplies and sets off towards Trenton. With Glim keeping a watchful eye out for any signs of danger along the way, the journey is long and tiring, but eventually they all arrive in the town at the small town at the edge of the swamplands. Cool. As they enter Trenton, they notice that the town is unusually quiet and deserted. "Something's not right here," Thane says, unsheathing his sword. "Should have a dagger. We should be cautious." I guess Thane can have a sword and daggers. You know what? I'll allow it. Because he doesn't have a bow, does he? So we'll allow it. The group moves forward slowly, keeping their weapons at the ready. As they make their way through the empty streets, they begin to notice signs of struggle and destruction. It looks like there has been a battle here recently. We need to find out what happened here, Seraphina says, her staff glowing with a magical energy. There may even be survivors who can give us answers. The group continues to search the town, hoping to find some clues as to what has happened. But as they move deeper into the heart of Trenton, they begin to realise that the situation is far worse than they could have imagined. Ooh! The group look on to see bodies in the streets. Some buildings have been burnt down. In the distance, there seems to have been people fighting. Colo and his friends look on in shock to see the town of Trenton is in turmoil. As they begin to move through the town, they hear a voice from an open door of a nearby house. "What are you doing out there? Get inside before you get yourself killed," the voice says, opening the door wider, beckoning Colo and his friends inside. The group hurries inside the house, grateful for the shelter and safety it provides. The owner of the house, an elderly man, introduces himself as Victor and asks the group what they are doing in Trenton. Colo explains their mission and their plan to travel to the capital and investigate the king's death. Victor's face darkens at the mention of the king's death. "Things have been bad since then," he says. "The people are divided. Some believe the king's death was a natural occurrence, while others think foul play was involved. The tension has been rising, and it finally boiled over into violence." Okay. Colo nods, understanding the gravity of the situation. "We want to help," he says. "Is there anything we can do to assist the town?" Victor looks at the group, assessing them. "There is a group of rebels who have been causing trouble in town," he says. "They believe the king was assassinated, and they have been trying to gather evidence to prove it. They've been clashing with the royal guards and causing chaos in the streets." "We could help gather in evidence for them," Aaron suggests. "If there is any proof that the king was indeed assassinated, it could bring peace to the town." Victor nods in agreement. "I know one of the rebels, a man named Remy. He might be able to provide some assistance, but be careful. The royal guards have been cracking down on anyone suspected of being involved with the rebels." The group thanks Victor for his help and sets out to find Remy. Colo peeks out of the window of Victor's home. "Any idea of where to start looking for Remy?" he asks. Victor takes a moment to think before answering. "There's a chance he may have gone to the Temple of the Moon. It's on the outskirts of town, and I know Remy used to visit there quite often. It's worth checking out at least." Aaron nods in agreement. "It's worth a shot, but we have to start somewhere." The group quickly leaves Victor's home and heads towards the Temple of the Moon. As they make their way through the town, they see a devastation caused by the chaos and violence. People are running in every direction, and fires are still burning in some areas. When they finally arrive in the Temple of the Moon, they are met with a group of armed guards who stop them from entering. "What business do you have here?" the guard captain asks sternly. "We're looking for our friend Remy. We think he may have come here," Erevan explains. The guard captains narrow his eyes suspiciously. "The temple is off limits to outsiders right now. Too much chaos in the town. We can't risk letting anyone in. Your friend may have to wait until the situation is under control." Colo steps forward, holding the Stone of Serenity. "We have this artifact. It can calm the minds of those who were afraid and panicked. Perhaps it could help calm things down in the town, and we could be allowed to search for our friend." The guard captain looks at the stone skeptically, but after a moment of consideration, he nods. "All right, we'll allow you to use the artifact, but if anything goes wrong, I'll hold you responsible." Colo nods in understanding, and the group begins to make their way towards the centre of town, where the chaos seems to be the most intense. As the group walks towards the centre of town, they are stopped by a bunch of rugged, armed men that demand their gold and valuables. Seraphina steps forward and shouts, "Is this really the time to turn to crime? Your town is struggling. You should all be out there putting out the fires and trying to help your fellow citizen in need." The leader of the grizzled men laugh. "Stupid girl, this is the perfect time. All the guards are preoccupied fighting the rebels. Little weak targets like you lot, have never been easier to rob." Colo steps forward, brandishing his sword. "I'm afraid we can't allow that to happen. If you lay down your weapons and leave peacefully, we won't have to use force." The leader of the group sneers. "You think you can take us on? You're outnumbered." But Colo doesn't back down. "We've faced a lot tougher challenges than you lot before. So what will it be? Surrender or fight?" After a moment of hesitation, the group of robbers decide to back down, dropping their weapons and fleeing the scene. The group of friends continue their way towards the centre of town, ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead. Bit annoying that they ran away after being outnumbered. So we won't let them. As the group continues on, the same bandit surprise them from a shadowy corner. "You really think we were just going to run away?" He reaches out to Colo and attempts to grab his backpack. Colo grabs the man's arm and the two of them are wrestling to take each other down. As Colo's friends step in to intervene, the bandits' group jumps them, brandishing their weapons and barking for the others to step away. After a few moments of Colo and the bandit fighting, one of the bandits grabs Colo's backpack and rips it away from him. After shouting that they're done... That's the wrong there. After shouting that they're done, the group runs off. As Kolo and his friends turn to chase them, some of the royal guards of the town show up. What do we have here? Rebels? The guard shouts, blocking Kolo and his friends while the bandits escape. Arin steps forward. No, we are not rebels. We are travelers passing through this town. Those men just tried to rob us. She gestures to the empty-handed Kolo. They stole our supplies and ran off. The guards look at each other, and one of them speaks up. We can't let you chase after them. We need to keep the peace and deal with the rebels. But we'll take a report from you and try and recover your stolen goods. Solo sighs in frustration but nods his agreement, knowing that he and his friends are outnumbered and outmatched. The guards escort them to the town hall where they can give their report and hopefully get some help in recovering their stolen belongings. The guard escorts Kolo and his friends towards the town hall. As they enter, it seems to be the only place with some sense of peace and order. Guards are lining every wall, on the lookout for the rebels out the windows. A man in a fine suit sits at a large wooden desk in the centre of the room, looking over some documents as Kolo I'm just going to read it again. A man in a fine suit sits at a large wooden desk at the centre of the room, looking over some documents as Kolo and his friends enter. He looks up and raises an eyebrow. What is the meaning of this? Who are you, and why have you caused a disturbance in my town? He demands. Kolo steps forward. We were just passing through town and we were attacked by a group of bandits. They stole from us and then fled. We were only trying to retrieve what was taken from us, he explains. The man in the suit looks skeptical. And why should I believe you? There have been reports of rebels and bandits causing chaos in this town. I cannot allow any more disturbances to occur, he says sternly. Seraphina steps forward. We understand the situation this town is in, but we are not the enemy. We are simply trying to make our way to the capital, to find out more about the king's death and bring peace to the kingdom, she explains. The man in the suit seems to soften a bit at her words. I see. Well, I cannot let you go without some assurances that you are not part of the rebel faction. I'll have to hold you here until we can investigate further, he says, motioning for the guards to take Kolo and his friends into custody. Oh. Kolo and his friends exchange worried glances, unsure of what their fate will be in this town. As Kolo looks around, he notices that the conditions in the jail are quite harsh. With no windows or ventilation, and a foul smell permeating through the cells, he sighs and leans against the bars of his cell, trying to come up with a plan to escape and continue their journey. Suddenly, he hears a voice coming from the cell next to him. Hey, you there! I overheard you talking about heading to the capital. I might be able to help you out. Kolo turns to see a scruffy-looking man with a sly grin on his face. What do you mean? How can you help us? Kolo asks, intrigued. The man leans closer to the bars. I know this jail like the back of my hand. I can get us out of here, and maybe even help you avoid the guards outside, but it won't be cheap. Kolo looks skeptical. How do I know I can trust you? And what do you want in return? The man shrugs. You don't have much of a choice, do you? As for what I want, let's just say I have my own reasons for wanting to leave this town, but I'll need some gold to grease a few palms and make it happen. Kolo considers the offer for a moment before nodding in agreement. Okay, deal. We'll pay for you to help us escape and lead us out of town. The man grins. Good. I'll start working on a plan. Just sit tight and wait for my signal. With that, he leans back in his cell and Kolo settles in to wait, hoping that the scruffy stranger can deliver his promise. Kolo turns to the scruffy stranger in the cell alongside him. So what's your name? He asks. And to Kolo's surprise, the scruffy stranger introduces himself as Remy, the rebel that Victor mentioned. Kolo's eyes widen in surprise as he looks at Remy. Wait, you're Remy? Victor told us about you, he says in disbelief. Remy nods and chuckles. Yeah, that's me. It's not every day you meet someone who's wanted by the King's Guard, he says with a smirk. Kolo looks at Remy's curiously. So why are you a rebel? What are you fighting for? He asks. Remy's expression turns serious. I'm fighting for the people of this kingdom. The king and his nobles have been ignoring the suffering of the common folk for too long. They're too busy feasting in their castles, enjoying their luxuries, while the rest of us struggle to survive, he says with a hint of bitterness in his voice. Kolo nods in understanding. Well, I see. Well, we're not rebels, but we are on a mission to find the truth behind the king's death and clear our names. Maybe we can help each other, he suggests. Remy looks at Kolo thoughtfully. I could use some help. If you can help me out of here, I might be able to help with your mission, he says with a hint of hope in his voice. Kolo nods. We'll do what we can, but first we need to figure out a way to get out of these cells, he says, looking around the sturdy iron bars that surround them. Now, a little bit of a inconsistency here, because Remy did offer us to escape. And he also said, we're against the king and these nobles because they've been ignoring the suffering, but the king's dead, so that's not much of a problem, but we'll see if we can make it all make sense. Before they find a way to escape, Kolo asks curiously, do you think the nobles will keep ignoring the suffering of the common folk now that the king is dead? Maybe their heir will be more kind. Remy looks to Kolo with a serious face. It won't change. It will never change. The nobles and kings will always see themselves above the rest of us. My plan is to find out who assassinated the king. Maybe they feel the same way as I do. Kolo nods in agreement. That's a good plan, because we are also heading to the capital to investigate the king's death. Maybe we can work together. Remy smiles. I like the sound of that. We will need allies if we are to succeed. The two continue to talk about their plan, trying to come up with a way to escape their cell and make their way towards the capital. They know it won't be easy, but they are determined to uncover the truth and bring justice to the people of Hallowdale. Kolo turns to Remy after a few moments of planning. I have a few friends that are also locked up in these cells. If we are to free all of them, I doubt we can do it subtly. I think the only way out of this is to try and cause a distraction, free as many prisoners as we can, and escape in all of the chaos and confusion. Remy nods in agreement. I agree. We need to create a diversion to draw the guards away from the cells. Once we have a large group of prisoners free, we can make a break for it. But we need to be careful. There are guards stationed all around the building. Kolo nods. Right, so how do we create a distraction that's big enough to draw their attention away from the cells? Remy thinks for a moment before replying. I've been watching the guards for a while now, and I've noticed they all seem to be on edge, as if they're expecting an attack. Maybe we can use that to our advantage. If we could make it seem like there's an attack happening somewhere else in the building, that might be enough to distract them. Kolo nods. Okay, but how do we do that? We don't have any weapons or anything. Remy smiles slyly. We don't need weapons. All we need is a loud noise, and I think I know just the thing. Remy nods in agreement with Kolo's idea. You're right, we need a distraction, and I have just the thing, he says as he pulls out a small pouch from his pocket. I stole this from one of the guards earlier. It's filled with a highly flammable substance. If we can get it to the right place and set it off, it will create a big enough distraction for us to make our escape. Kolo nods in understanding. Alright, let's do this, but we need to be careful. We don't want to harm innocent people or get caught in the crossfire ourselves. Remy agrees and the two of them start to formulate a plan. They decide that the best place to set off an explosion would be near the armory, which will create chaos and draw the guards away from the cells. They manage to get their hands on a map of the jail, and Remy shows Kolo a hidden passageway that leads to the armory. They make their way towards it, trying to avoid being seen by the guards. As they reach the armory, Remy takes out a pouch and sets it off. Hold on, did I miss something? They manage to get their hands on a map of the jail. Remy shows a hidden passageway from the cell into the armory. How do we get out of the cell? Alright, whatever. As they reach the armory, Remy takes out a pouch and sets it off, causing a loud explosion that echoes through the jail. The guards immediately rush towards the source of the noise, giving Kolo and Remy the opportunity to free the prisoners and make their escape. The group runs through the jail, dodging guards and avoiding traps, until they finally make the exit. They burst through the door and find themselves in the town square. Surrounded by chaos and confusion, the rebellion has escalated and the streets are now filled with people fighting for their freedom. Kolo and his friends look at each other with determination. They know that their journey to the capital just got a lot more dangerous, but they also know they have a duty to help to bring justice to the people of this land. They join the fight, ready to do whatever it takes to make a difference. Amidst all of the chaos in the streets, Kolo and his friends manage to grab their weapons and flee the town of Trenton. Without any of their supplies, journeying through the swamp had just gotten a lot more difficult. As they set out to leave the town of Trenton, Kolo turns to Remy. Is it just you, or do you have any friends that you want to come with us? Remy shakes his head. No, I was on my own, but I know some other rebels in the nearby towns who might be interested in joining our cause. We can head there and try and recruit them. Kolo nods in agreement. That sounds like a good plan. We all need the help we need all the help we can get if we're going to make a difference. The group sets off towards the nearby town, hoping to find more allies in their fight against the corrupted nobles and their oppressive rule. That's not what we're doing, but okay. And with that, Kolo, Thane, Erevan, Glim, Arwen and Remy all begin to make their way through the swamp to the next town over. What a day this has been, Kolo says, almost with a smile. I don't know about the rest of you, but I am exhausted, he adds. The group nod and agree to start setting up camp in the swamp. As they set up camp, Thane pulls out his map and begins to study it. According to the map, there is a small village not too far from here. It's called Lonesome Vale. That sounds like a good place to rest and resupply, Kolo says. We can also ask around to see if there's anyone knows anything about the assassination of the king. The group nods in agreement and they set off towards Lonesome Vale early the next morning. The journey is long and tiring, but they eventually arrive at the small village. Lonesome Vale is a quiet and peaceful village, quite different from the chaos they encountered in Trenton. The villagers welcome them warmly, and they quickly find a place to rest and resupply. Okay, so I was going to set up a campsite, but instead we'll rest here at the Lonesome Vale. As they explore the village, Kolo asks around about the assassination of the king, but nobody seems to know anything. I'm sorry, stranger, we're just a small village. We don't get much news from the outside world, a local farmer tells him. Disappointed but not discouraged, Kolo and his friends continue their journey, hoping to find more answers along the way. The group head towards the inn of the Lonesome Vale. And ask the innkeeper how much for a night. That's all we'll do. The innkeeper looks at the group and replies, 5 silvers piece per night, per room. We have a few rooms available if you're interested. Kolo nods and hands over the necessary silver pieces. We'll take 3 rooms, please. The innkeeper nods and hands over 3 sets of keys. Here you go. Enjoy your stay at the Lonesome Vale Inn. Kolo and his friends make their way to their respective rooms, and after a long day, they all fall asleep almost immediately. Well, it's been an hour and a half, which is as long as we've been keeping these episodes. So this is where we're going to end part 3 of our story. Those that are following the story intently, I think you all know what's going to happen next. How many people we got? We got. So let me add to the text. We do not know anything about Remy. We don't know what race he is. We don't know what class he is. We don't know nothing. He could be a rogue. Probably would make sense if he was a rogue. Could be anything else. We don't know. Could be a dwarf. Could be an elf. Could be a halfling. Could be a human. Could be another tiefling. We don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 of us, all sharing 3 rooms. So the next cutscene is going to be splitting them up into different rooms. And then we'll have the nightmare again. And we'll have a little moment. I don't know who's going to be in what room, though. But, yeah. Cool. The only thing is, they paid for the room, and I kind of wanted the innkeeper to say, it's 5 silvers per night, per room. And then Kolo was going to turn around and say, my money! My stone! It's all gone! The bandits! Whee! But we will slip that in at a future part of the story. And real quick, we'll just ask, what is the name of the country or realm that we are in? I apologise, but there hasn't been a specific name mentioned for the country or realm in our previous conversation. Would you like to come up with a name for it? Well, we shall name the realm Lanera. Nice. Okay, so this is where we're going to end this part. We will start the next chapter at this scene right here. We buy 3 rooms. Nice. Gang, this has been part 3 of our cool story. Thank you all for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. And until then, you know, take care of yourself.